Now, I'm very excited to welcome back one of the greatest MMA handicappers in Lou Finocchairo from gamlou.com and the Sneak Tea podcast. You can follow Lou on X at gamlou. Lou, thanks for coming back on the show. The weather has changed for us Arizonians. How are you doing this week, my friend?
Well, first of all, Kiev, I want to say thanks for having me on. These visits are always great. I drove back this morning from Vegas to Phoenix, a little 4-hour slide right through the cool sunrise of a desert morning, and they're really they're great medicinal drives for me. It allows me to open up and just do plenty of thinking. And in this business, you need plenty of time for that. It's a great time of year. We got NFL, we got World Series, big UFC card. I couldn't be more excited to share thoughts on all of that with you.
You haven't seen enough wiki up. That's why you love this drive, my friend. The little towns are so fun, but I love it. You hit the Joshua Tree area and the terrain is so different. And I agree. It is therapeutic in a way to make that drive. And here we are. The weather's beautiful. It is our summer. I mean, our nice time all the way through May. I'm very excited. But that also means then we're talking lots of sports, lots going on. The NHL has already started. For anybody that watches the NBA, not me, myself, that started. We obviously still have massive UFC to talk about too. So full slate for Mr. Lou Finocchairo here. So I'm real excited to talk to Lou. But going into the NFL, I wanted to ask you a question about the parity. I think that the NFL has a lot to offer for parity this year. What are your thoughts on all of the craziness going on in this sport?
No, I think I have levels of thought on parity. First of all, we know that for 20 years now, the NFL has been trying to design themselves to encourage parity. And we need to look no further than each year 3 or 4 new playoff teams arise and 3 or 4 playoff teams from the previous year drop off. That's by design. They want that. The salary cap helps encourage that. We don't have a situation like you have in baseball where a team like the Dodgers is allowed to dominate like they do. Listen, they're not doing anything against the rules. The rules are there. They're taking advantage, and you got to tip your cap to them. Here in the NFL, I think the salary cap has a lot to do with it. I also think the fact that we have fewer ownership groups that are totally football people. We're getting more Woody Johnsons and McCaskies. There only used to be 2 institutions that were completely inept. Now Jared Jones has added the Cowboys to the ineptitude of ownership. And then you have a bunch of owners and hiring head coaches in dubious fashion. And so I think there's less excellence. There's less football bred organizations. Now, who are I think San Fran's run by football people, and that's a football institution, to be quite honest with you. I think Kansas City's the same way. Philly, maybe, but there's too much in the middle. And so between the ineptitude of ownership groups and football operations, the design of the NFL, and then lastly, I'll say the fact that these kids during August sit around and play cards all the time. And there ain't nobody out there blocking and tackling. Injuries are up. Games are up. The NFL cares little about the player. They just want their product. And so I think as we get a proliferation of games and a lack of activity early in the season, you're just going to see more players. The players' unions tickled with that. But I think we're seeing a watering down of the NFL product overall. Litigation is ruining the game. The game that we saw a recent clip, Michael Irvin screaming and yelling at people about how it was when he played compared to today. Well, what do you think Art Monk would say to Michael Irvin? Same thing. So my NFL that I grew up on is already gone. And we see the NFL now in professional flag football. There doesn't have to be many more signs for current NFL fans to understand that this thing is rapidly going to a 7-on-7 wide open flag football type approach. And before that happens, I'll be long gone.
I might be too. That's a very well thought out answer. Thank you for that. And I agree with all of those points. As much as I am hard on the NFL, I'm glad you brought up that they are the best for keeping it even. It is completely true that baseball has got it wrong, and it's not the Dodgers' fault for that. They just take advantage of it and have the money to. The NBA is a complete mess. The regular season means almost nothing. There are some great points that you had, but the bad part is, like you said, these owners know less than my kid and their friends playing John Madden football on an afternoon after school. And I'm being completely serious, which gives people like Roger Goodell the ability to run rampant with the craziness that we're seeing right now and all the complaints and all the tough product that we're watching in case you got a game like Houston and San Fran where half the team's not even playing. All the stars are out of this game. It is getting ridiculous from that side of things. So thank you for bringing that up. My biggest notice is I don't have a complete number one team. I think there's a lot of real good teams. Not a lot. There's a chunk of real good teams, but my bad teams are way worse coming from the spread of the deviation than teams are good. Like my worst team's power rated -10. My best team is +4, right? There's no +8 and -8 really in this league. So I completely agree with you on that one, Lou. I like to talk about value, as you know, on this show. And it doesn't mean you're betting on a team right now or you're fading a team right now, but buy low, sell high is important to me because we have to get a thought process correctly on how we approach the betting market. So I'd like to ask you if you thought about like a team that, you might have some value fading or betting on in the near future. And it doesn't necessarily have to be game by game, or it can be season win total, or just something that you got your eye on that you think the market might be a little bit off on.
Yes, and this is designed for conversation, but I totally believe it. In fact, yesterday I was up in Las Vegas and I sat at the panel with Jim Feist and Ken Thompson and Tommy Casale. And I told the group this, and afterwards I got some very interesting responses with folks that completely agreed with me and hadn't seen what I tried to point out, and a couple that took exception to it, which is always good. This is the NFL. You're gonna get that. So what I mentioned then, and what I'm going to mention now, and what I really believe is that I'm interested to see all the public is so fickle, driven by the press, and right now they're getting ready to run a parade down Kansas City again and celebrate Mahomes and Reed, and they should, because they're good and they're good again. But everybody's laying down and laying out the red carpet to them, and I think that what they're doing is they're judging how the Chiefs have come around. They're getting healthy. I get all that. However, there's a team in Denver that's totally being overlooked, and they're being overlooked because everyone, in my opinion, is overreacting to the early quarterback play of a young kid. He's in his sophomore year, had a great year last year, and everyone sees how they look today, and they're just completely willing to overlook them and not regard them as, I think, not only a contender for that division, but I believe they're a really serious contender for the AFC. Now, it doesn't really look at a lot right now unless you're looking at their defense, because the offense has things to tweak out. But listen, we're in week 8. We're halfway through. We just are beginning to understand how teams are going to be and who they're going to be by the end of the season, and there's still a lot of change that's going to come. But if you're looking for a buy low spot, I think you could do far worse than finding or landing on Denver for not only that division, but for the AFC.
That's a great call. And I purposely used up my survivors on both Denver and KC because I just want nothing to do with that game coming on Christmas. Nothing worse to have the Chiefs ruin my Christmas as they've ruined many other people's, my friend. Denver is for real. And I want to give you credit, Lou, because you were on Indianapolis even a little before I was. I've cashed on them quite a few, but that's a team that's probably reached their peak. So it's not like you're buying low on the Colts right now. So great, big props to you on that one. I agree. Kansas City, probably a little bit too much love, especially in the media side of things. I think this 12.5-point spread is very interesting now that Terry McLaurin's back. We'll get to that game. I'm going to say a buy low spot. Man, I tell you, I am with a lot of the market here. But I think I'm gonna buy a little bit low on Houston. I still like their defense. I think their defense is ferocious, and I know their offense isn't quite as healthy. They kind of got shell shocked a little bit in Seattle last week. Not exactly sure when I'm going to bet them or what I'm going to do, but nobody's talking about them now. They got a lot to live up to. They're not going to win that division, but they're going to certainly try to make a run there with D'Amico Ryans and try to get to the playoffs. So I think Houston's kind of starting to bottom out a little bit, in my opinion. So maybe I can get some value on them. But I think just going over this Week 8 card, we can find some spots and some teams that's going to maybe shock some of these listeners here. By the time this show comes out, the Vikings versus Chargers will already be over. So let's go right to the Buffalo Bills versus the Carolina Panthers. We're looking at the Carolina Panthers at +7 at home, a home dog with a total of 46.5 right now, Lou. It's not looking like Bryce Young's going to play. Andy Dalton is slated in to be the starter. Any thoughts on this game or pass?
I have season win totals under on the Bills, and so that affects my judgment a little bit here. But really, when I look at the Bills, I see the 10th ranked passing offense via DVOA, facing a defense in Carolina ranked 23rd. So Allen's going to be throwing the ball on Carolina. If they get up early, you could have a lot of trouble in Carolina. That said, Carolina has found running game, and they have the 7th ranked rushing offense, and they're going to go against a team on defense in the Bills that's ranked 32nd against the rush. Listen, when I see DVOA numbers and I see a team against the rush that's 30, 31, or ranked 32, those are gutless teams. Those are teams that don't have no belly, no middle, no desire, and no ability to really compete. And I see Buffalo as a totally offensive mechanism. Is Carolina going to be able to expose them? Well, if they can get the ball and go down and put up 7, maybe put a little pressure on that offense for the Bills, yes. I want to say I like Carolina plus the 7, but that's a game I'll sit back and watch and hope, because it wasn't counted for me as a W against the Bills early in the season.
The Bills are in a much better spot. I do agree. 30th in rush EPA on defense. Teams have been running over them, but part of that is due to the Matt Milano injury. He's their best linebacker. He's been out quite a few weeks now. I think that he could come back. He practiced on a limited basis. This is a teaser leg for me because the Bills have to get right. The Carolina is coming off the letdown spot from last week's win, and the Bills come in on a big get-up spot. But do I want to lay points like that on the road to a team that can't stop the run? Just a hiccup or two could screw this up for them. No. I am very impartial on the spread myself, but I think it's a decent teaser leg.
Sure is.
Forward for this. Giants, Eagles. I'm surprised to see this get up a little bit to 7.5. And it's a soft 7.5 being, plus 100. There's a little bit of tension on Giants plus 7.5, minus 120. I'm just going to say, after what I saw the Giants against the Eagles, I wasn't sure if I saw just a lazy, tired, careless Eagles team, or if they just really did lose some of the magic that they had last year and some of their confidence. The Giants came into that game with confidence, but now the Giants are very disrespected. My numbers do not get to 7.5 in this, although after blowing that game the way they did at Denver, allowing the door to open for Bo Nix, they even had a little bit of flag help last week. I'm really not looking to attack the Giants. The total's 43.5, which makes me lean dog. I'm not touching the game as of right now. Lou, what about you?
Yeah, I like the Giants in this game a little bit. I believe what I saw the last time. I think there's more strife in Philly than what the locker room is allowing out, which is good on their part. You want that staying in. You get a couple diva receivers there squawking about, how much ball time they're going to be getting in a run game that doesn't work. I think the young infusion of two rookies has helped the Giants, and you got a coach on one end trying to save his career and the coach on the other end just trying to keep continuity. I like the mentality and I like the coaching angle of me going into a locker room and telling a team that we just beat 2 weeks ago that we're going to play them again, and they're disregarding us, giving us 7.5 points.
That is a lot of points. And Skim, I do agree that they had the best draft with Scadaboo and Jackson Dart right now. Hands down. I mentioned that last week as well. So
can I interrupt? May I interrupt?
Absolutely.
I just want to say I have to disclose. I was one of the people, and I live in Phoenix. I'm a U of A guy, but I watched Scadaboo in college, and I claimed during the draft that he would be a special teams player only, not a special starting kind of a player. Now, in my fantasy league, I drafted him, and currently he's saving my fantasy season. So just shows you how little I know.
None of us know shit is what our good friend Dave Sherapan used to say, my friend. And that is rest in peace, Dave. And yes. We will always use that line and think about him. Jets, Bengals -6.5, total 44.5. Lou, I'm going to give you the floor first on this one.
Yeah, the only thing about this game, Kiev, is who's my Jet quarterback? Because I think I'm a big Cincinnati fan. If they march Fields out there, if they put Tyrod Taylor out there, that will cause me a little bit delay. That tells me that at least head coach can diagnose that there's some trouble. I always wanted to believe in Fields, but in my opinion, veteran, mature quarterbacks that have learned how to process NFL defense are way, way ahead of young athletic quarterbacks. Cleveland should have known that because they went to the young athletic quarterback and let the smart, cerebral quarterback go to Cincinnati, which is one of the reasons I think they're easy to like in this game. But the long and short of it is I'll play Cincinnati heavy if I can determine that it's Fields. If it's Tyrod Taylor, Cincinnati becomes more of a teaser consideration.
I don't think Tyrod. I don't think it's going to be Fields, and I know Tyrod Taylor's knee's banged up, but he's just getting that veteran off day a little bit. I think he had a walkthrough today. I have Tyrod Taylor as a better quarterback than Fields, but this is your classic. The Jets are a sharp darling that dies every single week, and the Sharps love them because their metrics are good, but they just choke out in the red zone and situations like that. I mean, we see teams like this, but I'm going to get ugly and I'm going to get dirty here. And I'm taking the Jets and I'm taking them +6.5, Lou. And I'm taking them for a couple different reasons. First of all, the Bengals are a bad team. And yeah, they played their ass off when Flacco came back. It was a home run spot for them. That was back and forth with Steelers. And I've seen enough Joe Flacco to see once he gets somewhere, he makes a big explosion. And the very next week, if he's mentioned starter, he goes to shit. And this Bengals defense is extremely susceptible against the run themselves. You know, that's where Breece Hall should be able to feast a little bit. The Bengals 29th, right next to the Bills in rush EPA. 26 in rush success rate. If they're smart, they keep this thing right in between the tackles and they run Breece Hall. They allow the Bengals to make a few mistakes. This is a desperate team for a win. And I don't think that Glenn was a good hire at all. But at some point, there is talent on this team. It has to show up. The Jets, believe it or not terrible on rush EPA on defense. They're 19th. It's not like they're in the Miami Dolphins range, right? They're not. Their defense actually shows even better than the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears and some teams like that. So I'm going to get ugly here. I think it's a desperation spot for the Jets, but I also like the letdown situation for the Bengals. And I could be eating my words with Lou, but plus 6.5, I'm going to take here on the road and kind of hope for an ugly game.
Well, I'm not that compelled on the game, and you are. And so what I'll do is step back and wish you luck and hope that you can cover that. I have Jet offensive data, not very complimentary to the run game whatsoever. And so that's where I think if you're looking for the Jets to rush the ball, I think that could be a tall task. But like I say, I have no conviction on the game. I just soon see you hit your bet.
And well, I like to hit my bet too, my friend. The Jets are, and you know what? You're right. They're not the greatest running the ball. In EPA, they are 21st in running the ball. So it's not complete doldrums, but I think that's their path, is to shorten the game. They can't be throwing the ball with Fields and being reckless and allowing possessions for the Bengals. And that is partly Terry Glenn's fault. But I don't think the Bengals are a good survivor play this week. And I don't think that the Jets are going to be without a loss come the end of the season. How about the next game? The Miami Dolphins versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are minus 7.5. The total is 44.5. Lou, I didn't bet this game. If I was going to bet the side, it would be the Falcons. The 7.5 even tells me more that this is the right side, but I just decided to tease it instead. And I teased it down to 1.5 with the Bills. But this is a terrible Miami Dolphins team. And if they did fire their coach, McDaniel, I would have been a little bit more scared in this situation. But the fact that they kept this guy, now they finally lose their second best receiver, who was Waller, pass catcher, I should say. He's a tight end. They don't have anybody to throw the ball to. Tua is short back there. He looks nervous to get hit. He's a concussion away from being out for multiple weeks. He has a terrible offensive line. His defense ranks worst in the NFL, and the Falcons are just a damn good team at home. I'm close to betting it. It might be just a millions pick for me at the 7.5, but I'm not. I'm just going to tease the side.
Yeah, tease is great. We get to using these teasers. They're so safe. I love Atlanta at home on a fast track after spitting up on themselves, and you give them this competition. Miami, the one thing they can do is 14 DVOA rushing offense. And where's Atlanta on their rushing defense, 22nd? So we're going to see hot chain running the ball here if Miami has any intelligence at all. And I mean, listen, when that young coach first got there, everybody was calling him the boy genius. Now nobody likes him. I don't know if he was as good as he looked early, and I don't think he's as bad as he looks now, but I'm not going to make any kind of stand here to Miami. This is an Atlanta boat race, and I'm getting Atlanta, the team with a +3 turnover ratio, against Miami in a -6 ratio. That's hard to overcome, and I track those turnover ratios because if you want to know if you can track turnovers, you're also going to track positive against the spread, because when you're getting turnovers, you're covering the spread, and when you're giving the ball away, you ain't covering the spread. So I think there's just too much going against Miami right now, including the malaise in the locker room, and I think it's totally opposite in Atlanta. I quite think that there's a lot to be optimistic about in hot Atlanta.
I do too. And I will say that Raheem Morris is not a good coach either, but it's still a home run spot. And they do like the players like him. The players do not like McDaniel. And this is just a terrible situation brewing down in Miami. Browns, Patriots -7. There is just a lot of -6.5 to -7.5 this week, Lou. Total is 40.5 on this game. Browns coming off a big win against the terrible Dolphins last week in 50-mile-per-hour winds. Now they go to New England, who's feeling pretty good about themselves. But look at this low total of 40.5. Lou, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's 40.5 because Cleveland has to win a game tight by a field goal and allow that defense to work and make up for the offense with the young rookie quarterback. And I don't know if Njoku's back, but boy, they could sure use him. Meanwhile, you got New England, a team unusually apt on offense, even more so with their passing offense, which is unusual under a guy like Vrabel because I'm looking at defense. Yet when I look at Vrabel's defense, they're 28th ranked DVOA and really terrible against the pass, where Cleveland can't take advantage of. This bodes a lot towards the hot Patriot team, but the point spread's too much for that defense on Cleveland. And to me, if I was going to play this game, I'd be very much interested in Cleveland and the points. And I think that I may play the game.
Well, I agree with you, and I might play it too. And I am also looking at Cleveland on the points here. You know, the metrics really don't like the Patriots all that much. Looking at the defense, they also have their issues. You know, they are as far. I think it's against the run. Let me check it here. No, they're good against the run. It was the pass. I had it opposite here. They're not good against the pass here. And 17th now, but they also had a schedule that has been very simple coming up to this point. And I feel like they should be a little bit better. This is what I meant to say. On offense, they are 31st in running the ball. If they just have a few hiccups on a passing day, that could spell disaster. I also think the Patriots are a terrible survivor play. I don't even want to tease the Patriots, my man. I'm going to be looking a little bit more at Cleveland now that you said that too, because I'm really interested in betting a dog this much when the total is only 40.5, Lou. Speaking of turnovers, we have a Bears team playing the Ravens. And what's funny about this game, Lou, you have the biggest turnover margin on the plus side against one of the biggest turnover margins on the negative side. Unfortunately, if you told me before the season which would be which, I would be absolutely shocked to see where the Bears are on that compared to the Ravens. But funny enough, the team with all the terrible turnovers are favored at home, -6.5, total 49.5.
Yeah, and turnovers, they aren't sustainable. Now, can they do that the rest of the year? If they do, I think that you'll have raving reviews, maybe not necessarily for the young quarterback, but surely for the new head coach. And I think the new head coach is doing what he needs to do to try and overcome institutional ineptitude that has been in place since the Bears won their last Super Bowl. I'm not certain. I doubt this quarterback makes it to next year with this head coach. That being said, that's not my decision. They're working it through right now. And again, the Bears' record is totally symmetrical with 11 plus turnover margin that they're on the right side of. Excuse me. If and when that drops out, that could really change things. Now, Baltimore coming off the bye, that's good. In the UFC, we say, listen, you can't learn wrestling in 6 months. It takes longer than that. And I don't think you can find good defense off a bye. So Baltimore's got their problems. Is Baltimore's is the elixir for the stagnant Chicago offense an inept Baltimore defense? Well, it was for Houston's offense. So I know that's what the Bear fans are hoping. I'm talking round and round in this game, but I don't want any part of it. I don't trust either team, surely not the Baltimore defense.
You said enough, and I echo all your statements. Baltimore gets almost everybody back, probably Kyle Hamilton. Roquan Smith for sure, who played for the Bears. This is just a do or die spot for the Ravens. I do not want to get in front of that in this league in the NFL. Move on to the next game. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Houston Texans. Texans -1.5, total of 41.5. As I alluded to before, Lou, this is a very battered Houston Texans team on offense, a little bit on defense, and the Niners, as you know, extremely battered. We don't even know if it's going to be Purdy or a return of the Mac Jones playing. It's just interesting to watch that, they finally got a guy, the Niners, with Huff last week, and he got hurt, and he's not going to play now, in his defensive end side. So I'm just going to say I do have a premium play on this, so I'm not going to say any more about it, but maybe you have some thoughts for our crowd watching or our listeners.
I don't believe in Houston. I am astonished, perplexed, and dumbfounded that team could go into this season with that offensive line. And now they've had a few injuries, and I don't believe they're going to be able to overcome it. They're throwing the ball a little bit on offense. Their defense is holding them in everything. And San Francisco, almost every year, we talk about how decimated the Niners are with injuries. And I wonder what Shanahan's doing up there. I regard him as one of the top 2 or 3 NFL coaches. And the reason I do is because he understands next man up. And really, it sounds great, next man up. But what he does is builds depth with his football team. Who's he got behind McCaffrey, the kid from Washington that he brought in? They understand depth at their positions. And so I don't get as alarmed when I see the injury report or the practice report for the Niners, because they got a great depth of football. And that's an organization institutionally that does get it. And so I think this is a mismatch in organizations, and it's a mismatch on the field. I played games with this because early in the week, San Fran was a 1.5-point favorite. And so that meant Houston teasers left and right. Then a day or two later, Houston turned to 1.5. What I do and come back right around with San Francisco teasers. So I've got both sides of this game at 7.5s and one at 8.5 with a 7-point teaser that I've tied into other games, one of which we're going to talk about as we get into the afternoon slate.
Oh, that's perfect, because I think that this is going to land within the 7s myself. And, it's a situation where nobody's talking too much about it. It's DeMeco Ryans, who was the defensive coordinator for a while and did well with the Niners, but he's going against Robert Saleh, who was the Super Bowl defensive coordinator with the Niners before he went to the Jets and got fired. I think that's an undiscussed situation here, because both coaches are going to be very, very motivated to win this game. And if anybody knows this Shanahan style of offense, I would think it's DeMeco Ryans. But hey, this is going to be an interesting game. You know what's funny about the offensive line for Houston? They're all healthy and they suck this bad. So think about that.
I don't think Tunsil's in. Tunsil's out.
Tunsil got traded, didn't he?
Yeah.
Tunsil,
yeah.
Yeah, but this is a healthy. They traded Tunsil, and the rest of the guys are actually I don't see any IRs or anything under their in their offensive line. So I find
God, are they bad? They're so bad.
Oh, it's so bad, dude. And I just don't understand what's going on with this team. Tunsil is on the Commanders, and it's like he was the only guy kind of there that was okay.
What I will say is that in all of these leagues, winning tends to be a process. I mean, those 3 new teams that make the playoffs, they don't win the Super Bowl. It takes a couple of years to learn how to do all of that. And so this is Ryan's, I think, 3rd year at Houston. And so I would look for next year. He's taking care of his defense, got great skill positions, brilliant young quarterback, decent running backs. I think next year is maybe the year they finally address what they need the most. I'm a huge DeMeco Ryans fan, and so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because it's a process and it takes time to win.
It absolutely does. And you can ask Cleveland if it's a process, because it's taken them a lot of time to win. But there's some teams that just can't get there, but this is some really dark situations here when you get rid of your offensive line, when you finally have a franchise quarterback. Let's move on to the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are +5 or +4.5. It's actually +4 in a lot of books right now. Even there's some 3.5s. Funny, DraftKings kind of holding tight with that 4.5. Total is 46.5. Anything on this crazy game of injuries?
Yeah, the look-ahead line, Tampa's 5.5, and now it's down to 4. I can see 4s. And why? What happened that made New Orleans so good in a week and Tampa a 1.5 worse? I don't get it. It's a division game, and the one thing I will say is New Orleans 2-5 against the spread. Usually, the bookmakers like to see all those teams 5-5 or 6-6 or 500. So 2-5 means they got some work to do, and maybe it's against a division foe here. But I don't. This is an ugly game that I could only consider taking the advantage and laying 4 points instead of 5.5, and going with the Bucks, who laid a stinker in their last game. And Mayfield and team will going to want to come out and build positively off that poor effort last out.
The look-ahead line assumed Godwin would be back, and they had Mike Evans in. Their cluster situation with the receivers is getting worse and worse. Ibuka's playing, but he's banged up, man. He's playing through injuries right now. This is such a bad situation for Tampa, yet they are playing one of the worst teams in the league. It could be a get-right spot for them before the bye, but this is a division game, and you have to understand the way Tampa plays, they play between 3 points. They play a lot of their games between 3 points. It's when they're leading, they give up. When they're losing, they come back. It's just one of those weird situation type teams, and now it's a division game. Saints are desperate, but they also are. Their offensive line is also completely terrible. Speaking of terrible, the Titans are 14.5-point dogs at the Colts. Lou, what number would it take? And maybe it is this.
That number.
For you to – that number?
Yep, that's enough. Division hatred. Indianapolis 5-2 against the spread. Tennessee 2-5 against the spread. This is a perfect elixir. Now, you go to the water cooler at your place of business and go in and tell them that you're going to take Tennessee. And when they all laugh you out of the room, you can leave that room knowing you got yourself a winner, my friend.
I did that with the Jets already.
Yeah, I don't know about those Jets, and that's not a division game.
How much can we hold our nose in 1 week, my friend?
They're going to make us this week. If you look at the slate, there's a bunch of teams on bye, and so this is a challenging week, and I look forward to it.
I do too. Cowboys, Broncos. I got +3.5 with the Cowboys, -3.5 with the Broncos, a little bit soft at -105. I guess that you call that hard. You call it soft when it's juice. Let's just say it's a hard -3.5 total, 50.5. I'm just going to admit I got a better number. I laid 3 with the Broncos. I think the Broncos are way better than the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys on the road are terrible. I've seen them enough times at the Panthers. I've seen the Cowboys at the Bears. I think at home they're good, but this is one of those home road split situations I'd like to take advantage of this time in the season before the books catch up and the market catches up. So I took 3. I mean, I don't like 3.5 as much, but dude, the Broncos I have significantly better than the Cowboys, Lou. This is one of my plays.
Yeah, and here's the second half of both of those teasers are going into Denver. What? You mean I'm taking Denver from 3.5, in one case 4, to 3, but 3.5 to 3.5? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I do it all the time. I'm aggressive in going from 3.5 to 3.5. I love the move. They tell you shouldn't do it. Everyone out there, please keep listening to them tell you not to do it, because I'm going to live off it. And I have been living off that move for some years.
I don't mind it. Because I have the Broncos a lot favored more than that. This is a situation. My power numbers say it's Broncos here for sure. I know Bo Nix has had his issues, but this is a big game for them. And Sean Payton's going to have kind of a bounce back from looking kind of bad last week. They lost 3 quarters and really won the fourth quarter. If they can just keep that fourth quarter momentum, it's going to be good. And I just hate the Cowboys on the road. They are such a different team metrically on the road. I think it's significant. I had the stats pulled up earlier, and the Cowboys, and I'll bring it up right now. Dallas on the road is they are 6 yards per play on the road. They're 6.3 at home. That's actually not as big of a difference as I thought. But schedule wise, the Cowboys have had it pretty beneficial, let's say, because they played the Jets, the Carolina Panthers, who has a bad defense, good offense, and the Washington Commanders. Then when they are completely hurt, don't forget Chicago and the Giants earlier. So that I think the Cowboys have been very fortunate in their schedule. Their toughest game was Green Bay at home. I guess at Philly, but what was Philly at this point? So I think strength of schedule wise really screams it out more than their home road splits. That's probably the best way to look at it. Let's move on.
I'll just say quickly. Yeah, Denver got one they shouldn't have last week, but when Indy beat them, they lost one they should have had. So we'll call it even.
We'll call it even. I don't know. I think they should have got that one against the Giants personally. Packers, Steelers +3 total, 45.5. The Aaron Rodgers revenge game. I guess the vengeance should be taken because they never got him a wide receiver. And now the Packers are drafting wide receivers like they're going out of style, Lou. I don't know what's going to happen from a media perspective. I think it's funny. I think Aaron Rodgers is a little nutty in the head, but this is going to be a pleasant game to watch because I think that the whole storyline is kind of cool.
Well, the storyline going to be all about Rodgers, and that's great, and he'll love it. The issue is that I just don't think Pittsburgh's really a very good team, and I'm stunned they're so weak on defense, especially 24th DVOA against the run. This is what's the young running back for Green Bay, Jacobs. I think he's going to get 28 carries and maybe 5 or 6 to the backup running back. This is all about Green Bay going out there, controlling the ball, controlling the game, playing from the lead here, and making Pittsburgh as uncomfortable as they can. What Green Bay cannot afford to do here is fall behind and let the Pittsburgh fans feel fuel. Pittsburgh's record is good. They're near the top or at the top of their division. And Green Bay's looked really lethargic lately. I think I'm ready to maybe predict Green Bay comes out and looks pretty good against a Pittsburgh D that's really not very good.
I'm going to go with the Steelers and have some nice disagreement here. The thing with the Steelers is that they have been also a little bit more battered on the defensive side, similar to the Bills, but it's not been discussed as much that guys like Isaiah Loudermilk coming back from injury and Malik Harrison most likely coming back as well. So it says he was questionable and against Cincinnati. His estimated return date is the 26th. I still need to get a better update, but I also think that Aaron Rodgers can backdoor. The thing about the Steelers is they're a little bit of a fraudulent 4-2, in my opinion. I think they're maybe even a little bit overrated in the market, even though DVOA likes them. I think they have them 10th in DVOA. Maybe the Packers are 4th or 5th or something like that, Lou. But I will say that being at home in a night game environment, I think the team shows up for Rodgers just because they're winning right now. It's all nice and friendly when you're actually winning. So I'm going to go with the Steelers plus the 3 points. And it's because I'm getting 3 points. If this was pick'em, I'd either stay away from the game or maybe even look towards the Packers, Lou. But I'd like the 3 here. I think it's a key number. And that's what I'm going to go with for this game. But I am concerned about the run. They better get Harrison back, in my opinion.
I did use some Green Bay money line. I haven't bet it other than that, but there's no way I'd give 3 in Pittsburgh. So I think we're in simpatico there.
There you go. Commies Chiefs, 12 and a half.
Pardon me.
Total 47 and a half. Big announcement. Obviously, Jaden Daniels announced out, but I think a big announcement too is the fact that Terry McLaurin is going to play this game, and so is Deebo Samuel. I think those are two really key guys here in this matchup. I didn't bet it. Do you want to get across this Chiefs situation? It's a lot of freaking points, and Marcus Mariota is not a bad backup. I don't love Dan Quinn. I think the offensive coordinator kind of carries them a little bit, but this is a lot of points, Lou. I haven't played it yet. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are everything you just said, except I'm willing to take it one step further and say I'm betting them.
Right.
I mean, this was look ahead was 5.5, and so you're telling me that the quarterback is a 7-point trigger there. I'll go 4.5. I'll even go 5.5. I think 7's getting into we're overreacting, and I think part of that is how good the Chiefs have looked lately. There's belief on the Chiefs' side, as we discussed with my Denver position a little bit earlier. And so next man up, let's see what Washington has. But at 12.5, and you know what? I'm just going to sit on my hands right now because that's what the Monday night game. And so what's going to happen is let's let everybody get beat up tonight, play some World Series over the weekend, bet their college, bet their pros, and go running into betting the chalk on Monday night. Maybe I get a 14 out of this thing, but 12.5 is enough, and it's a bet.
Well, man, I tell you, I'd be, if the sharp money does not keep that down, I'd be surprised. I think it does stay around 12.5 personally, but you know what? God bless you. If all that public money is going to come in and move this, then that's even better for you.
And it's coming in late, Kiev. It's coming in Sunday. I mean, it's coming in Monday at 4 p.m. So we're not going to know right away because your sharp guys aren't waiting until the last minute. They're going to bet it now, keep the number down. And when that tsunami wave of JQ public hits, I think it moves it up, and we'll see.
All right. Well, great stuff. I'm with you. It's a tough one to make because of how bad they look, but this is a massive overreaction from 5.5 to 12.5. And I completely agree with you. That is a too much of an overreaction. I even think 10.5 is too much of an overreaction too, Lou. I would bet it at 10.5 too. If I'm going to bet it at 12.5, I'm probably going to be on it too. I just haven't gotten to the window just yet. Well, there you have it. That's our NFL, but we cannot forget, it is a massive week in the UFC, my friend. UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. Let's start with the undercard. Now, I would like to have you just pick a fight that maybe you're looking at, maybe you played, anything in the prelims that introduces you, or obviously if you want to say anything about the venue, feel free to do that as well.
Well, what I'll say is it's a live venue. You're going to have a huge crowd of for every 100 people, there'll be 99 men. This is a very male-oriented area, and I say that because we have as many as 2 female fights on the card. First time ever an Abu Dhabi card has had 2 female fights. The last Abu Dhabi card was the first time they ever had a female fight. So there's evolution in the UAE. And on the undercard, there's a whole bunch of fights I really like and are compelling. But the one that I'm going to point everyone to, and I love dogs, but this one's not a dog. Jose Delgado fights out of the MMA lab here in Phoenix, Arizona. And he has a fight against Nathaniel Wood at 145. Wood is an Englishman. Really, really strong, solid wrestler. He has UFC experience over Delgado. He's been in with better competition than has Delgado because Delgado is a young up-and-comer. However, Delgado, 5 inches taller, 5 years younger, in UFC events when there is a younger athlete 5 years or more, at 5 years, 62% win rate. The more youth you have over the older opponent, the bigger that percentage becomes as well. Delgado has a 4-inch reach advantage. Not only can Delgado use his size to keep this fight standing against a very pesky Nathaniel Wood, but his striking is world class with a great boxing background. This young man simply, I think, going to just overwhelm Wood, and I believe it ends before 15 minutes is up. I wouldn't encourage everyone to run out and bet Delgado inside the distance. Rather, I'd use Delgado at the minus 148 or minus 150 that he's at now. That's a very fair price, but it's not going to be an easy fight. This will be his biggest step up. But in his last step up, he knocked out a guy that has never been knocked out before in the first round.
Well, look at that. MMA Labs, shocking Lou. Lou loves his MMA Labs boys here, right in his backyard.
Well, and I got to say, I go there on Saturdays and watch these kids train and fight and spar, and I pick up on the nuance of the sport. But the young man, if he saw me, he'd fist bump me because he knows I'm a friend of the lab, but they don't know what I do. I don't talk to fighters. I stay totally away because I don't want to impede my accessibility into learning. That they have been responsible for spoon feeding me intelligence about UFC fighting for a decade plus now, and I would never ruin that. So I stay clear of those fighters. I want everyone to know. That said, my nose is up every single cheek there is in that gym on Saturday.
Jose Delgado in his few fights, 7.13, significant strikes to 5.66. They both absorb about the same amount. I mean, I can see why. And you got a fighter that is 5 years younger, taller, probably a great situation. I might have to tell you on that one, Lou. Love the pick. Let's go to the main card. And we start right at the bottom here. Alexander Rakic versus Amzat I always struggle with this one. Mirzkhanov. He destroyed his name.
You know, with a name like Finocchairo, I should not be destroying guys' names, but I do it all the time. Hey, this is a tough deal. Mirzkhanov is how I'll say it, and I'm sure that's incorrect too. It doesn't matter. What's great about this fight, first of all, this is one of 3 fights on the main card at 205 or heavyweight. So the main card, they give us some big-bodied athletes because that's where the violence and finishes potentially can occur. Mirzkhanov is shorter considerably. He's going to be 7 inches shorter. He's 6 years the older man. Though he's a lefty, has wrestling advantage. I worry about that age. Rakic, if you're just looking at the physics, he's so much taller. He's so much younger, and he's so much longer that in a striking fight, which he surely wants to keep it, whereas the Russian Mirzkhanov is going to want to try and get in and nullify that reach. Rakic will thrive in distance. The issue is that he's been able to dominate guys lower in the rankings than he. But every time he steps up, he seems to get beat, whether it's Yuri or Jan Blachowicz, whoever it may be. But he's getting beat only by the world class. I don't know if Mirzkhanov is a world class. I tend to see the total here at 2.5 and want to think that this could go over here. I don't know if I have a strong feel on either side. Surely don't want to bet the dog here, but I think the dog is durable, and this should be a decision fight.
Well, I will say that Mirzkhanov, finally saying it right, thank you, Lou, did beat Dustin Jacoby, Alonzo Melifield, and Devin Clark. And I'm not saying that they're the top of the class, but that's some pretty good wins for him. You know, I'm somewhat impressed on the shorter man here. Rakic, man, he gets into these big fights, and he's a real tall guy. And then he does well in the first round against Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, and Magomed Ankalaev. Then he just kind of fades, you know. I thought it'd be an age difference, but Azamat is older. You know, one of those situations where Azamat's actually older, but I feel like Azamat's hitting his stride. You know, price-wise, it's probably, I would say, Azamat or nothing for me anyway in the situation. But yeah, good thoughts on that one. Over, definitely a look here. Can Ratchet?
I will say I do have I didn't mean to step in there. I wanted to say I do have a good friend that's another UFC handicapper that I direct message with all the time. He's pretty high on Mirzakhurna, so he agrees with you.
Yeah, it's minus 110. And I just feel like it almost feels like Rakic has had so much ring wear in his life too, but man, this reach 78 inches to 71 and a half. It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna lean Azamat. I feel like Rakic is just kind of put together with screws at this point with the amount of bones that this guy has broken in his career, man. We'll move on to Alexander Volkov versus Jailton Almeida. Volkov is actually a dog here around plus 170, plus 175. Almeida you can have at minus 210. Lou, this is the one I was looking at, my friend, and I was looking at the dog here. I feel like Volkov has fought enough grapplers and wrestlers in his career to be able to kind of withstand them. You look at the age difference, it's not that much as I would have thought. Almeida is 34 years old. Volkov is 36. Almeida, in my opinion, is a one-trick pony. He's going to wrestle, and try to wrestle. And I've seen Volkov have to tap in the past. But in this situation, I just think that Volkov, unless you're an idiot, there's only one way to train against Almeida, and that is the takedowns. And I believe Almeida can gas. I believe this is a situation where it's going to go over the total. I think Volkov can get him late in the late round and the third round. I'm leaning dog right here. I'm wondering if you're going to take me off it.
Well, I know I'm going to tell you on Monday I released Volkov at plus 200 to Out Business podcast members. I believe we're going to get the absolute best effort out of Volkov that we'll see in his entire career. He was in a fight in his last where he thoroughly won a fight against Gane, and Gane was given the decision. 19 of the 20 press people cage side judged that fight, and 19 out of 20 of them gave it to Volkov. Volkov totally got screwed, but now he has to move on and bounce and take on this young Jailton Almeida. I say he's young because he's new to the UFC, but he's 32, as you mentioned. He was a light heavyweight, and he moved to heavyweight because no light heavyweight would get in the cage with him. And he's slowly evolved and manipulated his body type up so that he'll weigh in at 248 or so, but he'll still be giving up massive size and reach and height to Volkov, who's been a UFC pedigreed fighter for over a decade. And you don't learn takedown defense in a camp or two. But Volkov, since he's fought the Black Beast and others, has dealt with takedown defense. He's 6'7". He's structured. He's huge. And I think that if he keeps this fight up, I think he can paint the fence of Jailton Almeida. Now, when you project the threat to Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division, I think it's going to be this winner of this fight will get the next fight against Aspinall. But on paper, as I envision the threat to Aspinall, I think the biggest threat to Aspinall is Jailton Almeida. However, I think the biggest threat to Jailton Almeida is Volkov, and I don't think Jailton Almeida is going to get a chance to get at Aspinall. I do like Volkov here, and I'm not afraid of something inside the distance to think that he could touch him up from distance. Also remember, Volkov enters this fight off the frustration of that Gane decision, so he's not going to want to leave it to any judges.
Maybe he kicks Gane in the nuts when he sees him backstage, my friend. That was a crazy decision. And it's so funny that both of these fighters are showing up here in Abu Dhabi. Volkov's probably like, I beat you and you know it. It doesn't help it doesn't hurt that Volkov is Russian here and they're fighting over in Abu Dhabi as well. I love how you talked about A beats B, B beats C, and B beats A, or C beats A, right? It's like a little circle right there. And it's so funny. I do agree with that. I think the best chance of beating Aspinall is Almeida. The best chance of Almeida losing is Volkov. And Aspinall would be Volkov. It's funny how different styles make fights. And It's some great commentating on your behalf, Lou. Next fight, Umar Nurmagomedov against Mario Bautista. Now, this is the biggest favorite on the card here. Umar is sitting at minus 650. I mean, if you want to make your minus 150 a minus 110, maybe you're looking at Jose Delgado and you think about putting Umar on that thing. I will tell you that Umar's coming back with vengeance here. He lost his title fight. I think the next time he gets a title fight, he does get the job done against our guy. I think Umar is probably, he might be the best at 135 right now. I don't know. I like Umar. There's nothing I can do with this fight right now, though.
Bautista trains with Delgado at the MMA lab. He's a quiet assassin. He don't speak too much and flap his lips. This is surely a tough matchup for him. But between Sean O'Malley, Kyler Phillips, Delgado, Casey Kenny, and Clayton Carpenter, a handful of other 135, 145-pound fighters, Bautista's well prepared for what's going to hit him come this weekend. And I believe that Umar has earned the right to be favorite here. And I'll go as far as to say that he should be a 250 favorite. But this number is out of whack. This number doesn't make sense. And anyone betting Umar hates money, in my opinion. I think there's a great opportunity here for Bautista, more specifically, if you look at the points handicap, and I'll pull that up right now. Points handicap is a totally underrated. Nobody really knows how to use it yet, and I've been using it to great benefit in fights like this for some time now. And I'm going to go right to that. I'm going to go right to that fight and tell you that Bautista on the points handicap, you can get Bautista plus 5.5 points plus 100. So that means that in order for him to lose, Umar is going to have to be awarded 30-28 three times, making it 6. Okay? This fight's way closer than that. Bautista's going to scare the poop out of Nurmagomedov in camp. And for people to think that this is just a walk in the park for Umar, I think they're missing a lot about what's going to happen in this fight. And I would encourage you to watch what Bautista does come Saturday midday when that fight occurs here in the Pacific time zone.
All right, taking the spread. Yeah, this is a 3-round fight, isn't it? So
it is. And so you're getting funny. 5.5.
Yeah, you're getting 5.5 on a 3-round fight. That's interesting. Well, I mean, Umar would have to sub him out or something like that in order
or win 30-27 on all cards, meaning he took him down, got on top, rained ground and pound, and Bautista couldn't do anything about it. I'll tell you one thing, and I don't make guarantees. I guarantee that ain't happening. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, you're also in Abu Dhabi, though, so that's a little bit.
And I'm also a big MMA lab guy.
You sure are, my friend.
So let's get it all out there right now.
Oh man, I don't know. I think it should. I don't think it should be minus 650, but I think it should be minus 400, minus 500. Let's meet in the middle on this one. It's in Abu Dhabi. Umar on the comeback here. I don't think he's just even going to give Mario a chance to do a lot, and this is going to be a boring fight that's stuck on the ground. That brings us to the main event. Tom Aspinall.
No. You're missing the co-main, my friend.
Oh, I am missing the. Oh, that's right. And what did Lou say right before we started? 2 women fighters, 2 fights in here, and we have a title fight here. The women's strawweight fight. Thank you, Lou. Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern, and I see Dern at minus 155. Both of these fighters out of Brazil, both of these fighters out of their element here. 115-pound weight class. It's weird to not see Weili Zhang here. Lou, it's fun to see these two fighters that have been in the federation for a long time, both duking it out. You got a 5-year age advantage for Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern has been an up and down fighter for me. The first I looked at it, I looked at Verna. I'm looking at her as a dog. I'm wondering why she's a dog. These fighters have history. They fought each other. Why don't you break this one down for us?
Yeah, rematch of 2020. And at that point in time, Dern and Verna were the same fighters they are now, basically. They were both world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialists, and Dern won via tight, close decision. I don't know how much changes since. Verna now 39 years old. Verna now 37, Dern 32. So I got 5 years difference in age. It gives me pedigree with Dern. They're both BJJ black belt savants. I mean, world class. Verna took a while to get to the UFC, and she has one setback to Amanda Rivas. Otherwise, she's gone 5-1 since their rematch. Dern is 2-2 in her last 4 fights, but she's fought higher level competition as well. She has manipulated her game so that she is now not incompetent in wrestling takedowns and striking. She's only incompetent in her wrestling takedown defense because her striking has improved greatly. If these two women decide to roll on the ground, I believe that that's Verna's best avenue to try and win. I also believe that's how she gets stopped in the fight. If she keeps it standing, I think she has as much trouble with Dern because Dern will strike in order to move it to the ground. Dern's father is a guy named Wellington Mara, who's one of the next to the Gracie family. Wellington Diaz is like the number 2 guy as far as BJJ in Brazil. That's Dern's dad. Dern was a black belt in BJJ when she was 4 or 5 years old. And when she fought Jandiroba the first time in 2020, you'd gone through a divorce, you'd had a kid shortly before that. There were a number of reasons why she wasn't at her best. She's getting a chance to hold UFC gold right now. I don't know how she's going to get defeated. I don't think Verna, who has no 5-round experience in a fight, is going to be able to compete with the world-class experience, pedigree, and who Dern's been in with. This fight opened Verna -150. Now Dern's -150.
Dern beat Verna back in 2020 as well.
Via decision.
Yeah, so she even after that divorce situation, she was able to still take that win. So it's a rematch of that, but she knows. Yep, I think the spread almost kind of scared me a little bit off, and I was kind of scratching because I thought this could be a fight that's going to be on the ground, but Dern can get up a little bit too easy, and I definitely give the striking advantage to Dern here. So I might be on Dern as well. I'm going to write her down. Thank you for that great breakdown here, and that was kind of what I was hoping to hear in this situation. I think the UFC wants Dern. She's so good on social media as well to be the next champion in this thing.
And there's also one other compelling thing about this fight, and it's a little bit crass to say, so forgive me, but I'm a fight handicapper, and this comes into reality. What Verna will have in this fight is the fact that she's going to be standing on the other end of the cage from an absolutely beautiful, curvaceous young lady that any guy that's 30 years old would love to date and go out to dinner with. Verna, on the other hand, looks like she got run over by a cement truck. And so you have beauty kind of and the beast, which I believe usually drives the beast. But in this situation, what the beauty has is just too much world-class competition. And I think that's the difference in the fight.
Yes, too much competition, too much drive, too much care. I think that this is a Mackenzie Dern situation as well. Now we get to the main event, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Tom Aspinall is -400. Ciryl Gane on the comeback is +300. I don't know. If you shop this around, you probably get a little bit better than the number. I was just looking at a general. Let's go to the Tom Aspinall at -345 here, and Ciryl Gane at +275 here on DraftKings. The only thing I'm going to say about this is I just think that Cyril Gane just does not have any dog in him. He's built like he's a brick shithouse, but he's got the mind of a WWE wrestler. I don't think he's got that dog in him that Tom Aspinall does. I've seen him cower before when he goes against bigger competition. I'm looking under this fight, if anything. I don't want to lay 345, but let's see if you agree with me on this one, Lou.
John Jones took a heavyweight fight. John Jones is a blown-up heavyweight. He's a light heavyweight that was able to seize opportunity in the opponent when he took the heavyweight fight against Gane, because Gane doesn't know how to spell takedown. And since that John Jones fight, of course, he's been working on it, but that's not who he is and what he does. Aspinall is a true, legit, grown man heavyweight fighter. Aspinall, watching the Jones and Gane fight, understands that if he takes Gane off his feet, he's going to submit him. Right? He's going to ground and pound him, but he's going to win the fight. So it's a matter of how much time it takes Aspinall to go from fighting Gane, where Gane has a chance on the feet, to taking this fight down on the canvas where Gane has little chance and Aspinall can dominate. So how long does that take? I'm not so sure I want to predict that. What I am willing to predict is that Aspinall does this inside the distance. That price is no bargain. It's, I think, still minus 275.
Yeah,
Aspinall,
it's no bargain.
Aspinall via sub plus 300. Now you're getting a little closer, but I will disclose About Business Podcast members in January bet this fight 5.9 units to win 5.3 units that Aspinall would be the heavyweight champ at the end of the year. All I had to do was either get him to fight Jones, and that's why Jones didn't fight Aspinall. He knew he could dominate Gane, but he knew he couldn't beat Aspinall. That's why we're not seeing that fight. Jones ain't no dummy. And so now we've got Aspinall, who would have beat Jones had they fought. We don't have to worry about that now. We simply have to win this fight as well. If you remember, Johnny Walker fought Zhang, a big, huge Chinese heavyweight, about 3 months ago, and Walker knocked him out as a plus 300 underdog. We parlayed Walker into Aspinall in that fight. So this Aspinall fight this weekend is a 7 or 7.5 point unit bet for us, and I'm a 1 unit player. So that's how much this fight means to us. They got to compete. They got to fight. Gane has a chance to win, so nothing's banked, but we're surely looking for a good Aspinall showing.
So Lou's basically got Aspinall at like minus 120 in this situation. What a bargain. I love it. I mean, if 5.9 to win 5.6 or something like that, is that what you said?
It was, and we added to it through the year. Now you can shop that same prop at DraftKings, but it's Aspinall to be the heavyweight champ in December 31st of 26. I still think that's a bettable position. It's just a negative price.
Absolutely. And that is a long wait. If you're going to wait till December of 2026, amazing bet, my friend. No, I just don't see any path for Gane. What's funny is it's under 1.5 at minus 1.5. That is how they think of Tom Aspinall in this situation. I mean, I would almost look Aspinall in the first round in this situation. I think Aspinall is a little bit too much of a maybe he's too much. Why would he wait? Is what you're saying? Why would he wait to take him out?
Why would Aspinall wait around and try and play with his food on the feet and give Gane the chance to kick him right up the middle? The Gane shot. I think Gane can win this fight. He's got to touch Aspinall. That's what he is fast. He's nimble. He's got power. He's got to touch Aspinall. Why would Aspinall give him the chance to do that? Not only that, here's this. Gane lasted 2 point some minutes with Jones. Does Aspinall want to go out and rub out Gane before Jones did and say Jones is a fake and I'm the guy? I don't know. I think that gets a little bit too that there's too much minutia involved in that, but it's out there. I look for Aspinall to want to be completely dominant here and then decide who his next fight is, either Volkov or Almeida, and we'll know that minutes before.
Yeah, I mean, Aspinall has dominated. I do wonder if there's somehow Gane gets this past 1.5, and does Aspinall have a gas tank? It's something he really has not had to answer, Lou. I think there was a fight a long time ago that Aspinall did look a little tired in the round 2s or round 3s.
I just don't think we found anybody that can take him there, and I don't think Gane's gonna. I think that's how good this Aspinall is. I have no worries about his gas and his ability, and I've heard cappers think that this is going to go over 1.5. I think that's suicidal. If anything, I'd look at fight starts round 2 and just hope Gane can go in there and do a Forrest Gump and run in circles for 5 minutes, get the thing to round 2, and get the hell out of it.
Yeah, I don't think it gets to round 2 either. I'm looking at this one. If I'm going to get greedy, the problem is you are not getting any bargains on this either. The books know exactly what's going to happen. The books know where the money's going to come in. So I agree with you, Lou.
Those damn books.
Damn books, my friend. Beer bet bangers. Any plus money bets that you like coming up? It could be the weekend, a future bet. Have you thought about this one?
You know what? I would say no normally, but Kiev, you're such a great host. You send me a list of questions before I go on here, so there's no way for me to say I'm not prepared. And so let's get involved with Aspinall. Wait a minute, Uncle Lou. You just got done saying there's no bet there. Here's a bet. Tom Aspinall minus 345, leg 1 of a parlay, leg 2 of a parlay, Toronto Blue Jays plus 180. That fight going to deliver you plus 261. That's a way to get the Blue Jays up to plus 261 from plus 180. And I'm here to tell you, I remember when the Lakers were all the shiz and they were going to play the Pistons, and the Pistons freaking swept them. I remember when Eckersley was on the mound for the big bad Oakland A's facing the Dodgers. Kirk Gibson hit a home run off him. That was the end of that series. If you think that the Dodgers, with all this rest, are just going to turn it on overnight, I think you're playing terrible money on that kind of favorite. Give me Toronto. Let's boost them up a little on the back of Tom Aspinall and see if we can't get those Toronto Blue Jays in. Is that enough of a bomb for you?
Oh, it is, certainly is. And a series price you're talking about with the Blue Jays, right? Series
the
price.
Blue Jays series, yes.
All right, series price on the Blue Jays. I love it.
Right, and Kiev is going to be just like every excellent baseball handicapper sees no way for the Toronto. That I could see it in Kiev's face. He doesn't see it either. And really, when I look at it, I think to myself, who's going to beat these Dodgers with what we've seen? I'll tell you what's going to beat the Dodgers. 6 days off, not playing baseball in between series. Watch.
I'm excited. You made me real excited for this. I did not bet a series on this, and I'm just hoping we get past 5 or 6 games in this series, Lou. That would be a gift for awesome playoff baseball. I'm going Aspinall round 1 plus 165 for my beer bet banger, Lou. And why not? Because I just talked all that shit. I think whoever's going over 1.5 is absolutely nuts. I agree that Gane or Aspinall has no reason to allow Gane to hang out in this situation. And Gane's not going to hang out. He's going to crawl up like the soft mind that I really think he has. Lou, you're the best. Could you please tell everyone where they can follow your great information and plays?
One-stop shop here, Gamblu.com. You'll get everything about me. The top band has testimonials, the sports I work. I'm really close to the oldest mission in the country, the San Xavier Mission down in Tucson, Arizona. And there's a tab on my webpage promoting that as well. Kiev, thanks so much for having me on this awesome pod. I watch your pods. You have great guests on, and I'm flattered you would ask me.
You are fantastic, Lou. Make sure you follow Gamlu for the best information in MMA, hockey, and the NFL at Gamlu on X.